Welcome back to Proxy, everybody. And today we have won. The Ronodonder's over, guys. We won. We kicked the Chaos Space Marines out of the galaxy once and for all. And we are now the dominant species once more. So, GW has released the rules for Battle Focus. And, guys, it's better than I thought. It's better than I thought. So originally I thought it was going to be kind of a move, shoot, move ability. You pick two or three units on the battlefield, you move a certain amount of inches with them after shooting, with some restrictions, right? However, GW has completely outdone themselves on this one and made a not only fantastic rule for our army, but one that is also very competitive, very tactical, and very tricky. And there's a lot of stuff we can pull off with it. So let's start unpacking it. And I will kind of run through the rules with you guys and talk about some of the strategies and tactics and tricks that you can pull off with this special rule. So it's also official, by the way. The Eldar are now the most maneuverable army in the game, and they also have the best utility in the entire game. They're completely unmatched on that. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So we have this beautiful picture of the Iyanden, which kind of looks reminiscent of what might be in the Combat Patrol. We got some Wraith Guard, got some Guardian Defenders, which well, their rules were revealed. We will go over that as well. We have a Spirit Sea and a Wraith Lord, super cool Wraith Lord there as well. So let's get into it. What is Battle Focus? Well, Battle Focus is going to be an ability that you get a certain amount of tokens for, and you can place these tokens on units to activate certain special rules and abilities throughout the battle. However, you get 4 per battle round, and they go away if you don't use them. So it's kind of like a refreshing resource, right? Just like CP is. So in Strike Force games, you're going to be able to use 4 of them, which is actually very good. That's a chunky amount of special rules that we can pass out throughout our units. But how good are these abilities, right? That's what we need to know. Are they terrible? Are they good? Now, I've read through these and I can say without a doubt each and every one of them is good. There is no stinker among them. There is no, you know, battle focus ability that is going to be just terrible. And I'll go into why in just a second. Now, as we go down here, the first one that they show us is Star Engines. Now, right away, people are going to look at this and say, oh, this is terrible. This makes Armored Warhost even worse. But I would actually argue that Star Engines is really good for two main reasons. So, first of all, what is Star Engines? Well, it is a battle focus ability. You will put a token on one of your vehicles for a battle focus token, and the effect is it is going to get a d6 plus 1 extra move. Essentially, you just add d6 plus 1 to the move characteristic of that Wave Serpent, Falcon, Warwalker, whatever it is, and it makes a normal move with that movement value. Now, what this means is it's basically a better advance because you don't have to, well, you can still shoot, right? You can still move, shoot, and the icing on top here, the cherry on top, is that you can also assault with it. So that means you can tank shock. You can move, 14 inches, add a d6 to that move, plus 1, and then also tank shock. You can also perform actions as well. So this is really cool for things like Vipers, where you need to get them to a certain spot on the battlefield. And you don't want to advance with them because advancing would mean they can't perform an action. So that's fantastic, right? Having that just at your disposal already is good. So when I read this for the first time, I was like, oh, okay, that's all right. But when I started to think about it more, I started to think, wow, that's actually really good. Obviously, the example they give you with the fire prism, it's okay, right? Fire prisms are not going to really be charging anything, but still, being able to potentially move 21 inches, you're not going to be able to move 21 unless you roll a 6. potentially moving that far is good. But, it's better, I think, with things that are smaller, like Warwalkers, with Vipers, with things that are going to want to also disembark afterwards. So you could, have a Wave Serpent filled with Aspect Warriors, move forward and disembark because normally you can't advance and disembark. So this is great. Now, what it means, though, is that unfortunately, womp womp, Armored Warhost is looking kind of redundant already, but that's okay, right? That's fine. Having one mediocre detachment in a range of 8 detachments or 9 detachments that we're going to get with the Codex is okay. I can live with that. So Star Engines is really good. The next one they show us is probably one of the best, absolute best things that could happen to Eldar in forever. It's amazing. So basically, it's called Flitting Shadows. You target an eligible unit from your army that made a normal advance or fallback move, right? Or it declares a charge. So anytime. So basically, these abilities are limited once per phase, but you have your movement phase and then you have your charge phase in which you can use this. And the effect is until the end of the turn, enemy units cannot fire Overwatch at that unit. Just super powerful, right? One of the big weaknesses of the Eldar is Overwatch. You ask any other player out there, how do you beat Eldar? Most likely they will say, set up a strong Overwatch unit to protect yourself, and you're pretty good. This allows you to circumvent that completely. So again, this can potentially target up to 2 units a turn. You're going to use 1 token in the movement phase to make a unit invulnerable to Overwatch, and then you can make another unit invulnerable in the charge phase, and both of those units will be immune to Overwatch until the end of the turn. That's amazing. That's completely amazing. It's great for the Eldar, and it has a ton of utility for the army, and it adds a lot of survivability to the army. Now, we've seen something similar with Reaper's Wager, except Reaper's Wager, you have to spend command points for it, right? You have to spend a CP. And Reaper's Wager is a really good detachment. We know how good it is, but you still have to spend CP for it. In LVO recently, Skari, took Dark Eldar and he took the Nightmare Shroud, which is an enhancement that gives the unit immune to Overwatch. This is just something you don't have to pay points for. You just spend the resource and you get immune to Overwatch. That's really powerful. Insanely so. So anyway, yeah, this is one of the more powerful bonuses that you can get. But it gets better, guys. It doesn't just stop here. Now, I will say this, there is the fade back, which is kind of like, I guess you could say it's a move, shoot, move. It's a reactive move based on when your opponent shoots at you. However, Guardian Defenders get to use this for free without spending any battle focus tokens. So basically, Guardian Defender's new ability is Fleet of Foot. This unit can perform the Fade Back Agile Maneuver without spending a battle focus token to do so. It can do so even if other units have done so in the same phase, and doing so does not prevent other units from performing the same Agile Maneuver in the same phase. So you could just always do this with Guardian Defenders. And this is the rule. This is the Fade Back rule. In your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit is shot, 1 eligible unit from your army, excluding Titanic units, of course, because that would be broken, to be honest, was hit by 1 or more of those attacks, can make a normal move of up to d6+1. Now, a lot of people are going to read this and say, oh, this is just a crappier fire and fade. But guys, it's basically free, right? It's a free resource that our army just gets. So that's amazing. The ability to do reactive. You could do it with things like Wraithlords. Now, I think what this is best with is units that are not going to die to a single activation of shooting. Obviously, this can also save a single model in your unit, right? Like if you have a unit of fire dragons and you want to save the Exarch for a later turn, which by the way, the Exarch can almost kill a vehicle by himself, this is great to use. Just put it on that Exarch, have the Exarch jump behind a wall, everything's good to go. You're safe from shooting now. Your opponent cannot finish that squad off. That's super powerful to just have at your fingertips like that. Guardian Defenders with this ability, what do I think of them losing the Fate Dice generation and gaining this? I think it's also good. right? I think Guardian Defenders with their Bright Lance platform and Shuriken Catapults can actually mix it up in the midfield now. I think they're pretty good with it. If you want to use them as a screening unit, it's also pretty good because you can just put your Bright Lance out there in line of sight of enemy units. If your opponent decides to shoot you, you can fleet a foot back so they don't all die. I don't think it is points dependent. Obviously, if they make Guardian Defenders really expensive, it's not going to be worth it. But if they're the same cost or cheaper and they have this ability, that's great. I think that more than makes up for the lack of Fate Dice generation. So yeah, I think Guardian Defenders are still pretty good. I like this rule a lot. Okay. Now, in addition to that ability, and by the way, it doesn't work on Titanic units, but it does work on things like the Avatar of Cain, the Yin Karn, and stuff like that. So I'm sensing that with this battle focus rule, the Avatar of Cain in the aspect attachment is going to be extremely powerful. And I'll kind of talk to you about some of the combinations you can do with the Avatar of Cain with this system. Okay, let's talk about the other ones, because guess what, guys? There's more. There's more abilities. It doesn't just end here. Swift is the wind. So Swift is the wind. Normally, you're limited to using one of these per phase, but with Swift is the wind, you can use it as many times as you want on different units. And its effect is you do it in the movement phase, but its effect is you just add 2 to the move characteristic models in the unit. Simple. And that's amazing, right? Just 2 extra inches. So Shining Spears that were moving at 14 are now moving at 16. The Solitaire is moving at 14 inches, plus its Blitz, right? Because again, with a Blitz move, it's when you make a normal move, so you could definitely you could stack this on top of a Blitz. Your vehicles are moving faster. Everything in your army is moving faster. Your Avatar of Cain can move 2 inches faster. Your Wraith Lords are moving faster. Your Wraith Guard and Wraith Blades that were moving 6 inches are now moving 8 inches. They're moving as fast as Witches. They're moving as fast as Harlequins. Harlequins are moving 10 inches a turn. This is insane. This is a great ability. And again, you can't use, more than 4 in any battle round. So you're going to want to, pick and choose carefully. But it's still a really cool thing to have. And your opponent's going to have to mentally account for this when they're measuring their threat ranges, which can work in your advantage. The next one is Sudden Strike. Now, the next 2, when used together on something like an Avatar of Cain, are kind of where I start to think that there might be a little bit of room for, shall we say, dirty Eldar trickery. And when I say dirty Eldar trickery, I mean something that may get nerfed. Because I think when these 2 things are used in combination with each other, with a unit like an Avatar of Cain, you start to see some issues with it. I think everything else is completely fine. It's completely balanced. But this is a combination that I have a little bit of an issue with myself. And that's just because I know how strong movement abilities like these can be when combined and chained with each other. So, Sudden Strike basically triggered when an eligible unit from your army is selected to fight until the end of the phase. Each time they make a pilot or consolidation move, it can move up to 6 inches instead of 3 inches. That is really good. A lot of factions just have this as a stratagem that they can use. But we get it, again, for no CP cost. We just have to use a battle focus token, which is insane. This makes things like Shining Spears really good. But you know what else it makes really good? The Avatar of Cain, the Yin Karn, Wraith Lords. Things that when they kill something don't have a lot of maneuverability. Being able to pile in or consolidate up to 6 inches makes these models really strong, really threatening. They can get to spots in the battlefield that they shouldn't be able to get to. Now, this by itself is pretty powerful. This is good. But when you combine this with Opportunity Seize, the next one, things start to get out of hand. When an enemy unit ends a fallback. So basically, my thought process here is that you engage an enemy unit, you use Sudden Strike, you consolidate up to 6 inches into another unit that your opponent doesn't want you in. And then when they try to fall back from you, you can make a normal move of up to d6 plus 1. And that will allow you to move your Avatar of Cain to a safer position where he maybe can't get shot at as easily. But here's the other part about that. If we go back up, right? If you saved the battle focus tokens for it, you can also fade back if your opponent does shoot him. So instead of just d6 plus 1, you're getting 2d6 plus 2 worth of movement out of your Avatar of Cain, which can be really insane. So that, I think, is the problem. And I think probably what they should do here to fix this in the future is just say that in any one battle round, you cannot target the same model with sudden strike and with opportunity seized. You gotta do one or the other, right? You can't do both in the same battle round. I think that's the way you fix that. You don't need to nerf the number of tokens we're given. You don't need to nerf the actual rules themselves. Just make it so that you can't target the same model with this over a battle round. Because as of now, you can. They just need to be in different phases. So anyway, I know some people argue with that, but that's how the rule is. If we go back up to the battle focus rule, right? It says each time one of the triggers shown in the agile maneuver selection below occurs, you can spend one battle focus token to enable the relevant eligible unit to perform that agile maneuver. Okay, yeah, so this is the part here. A unit is eligible to perform an agile maneuver if it has the ability and has not already performed an agile maneuver in the same phase. That's the key, the same phase. Unless otherwise stated, you cannot trigger the same agile maneuver more than once per phase. At the end of the battle round, all unspent battle focus tokens are lost. Okay, so again, it's per phase, and these are all in different phases. So yeah, it's going to be really, sometimes basically what's going to happen is a good Eldari player will get his Avatar of Cain or her Avatar of Cain into a good position where they can threaten a lot of different units. And based on what your opponent does, you could just simply react to it. You know, if your opponent wants to fall back, you could do this. You can move out. If your opponent wants to shoot your Avatar of Cain, you know, fall back and shoot, then you could fade back. And there's not a lot of things your opponent can do except just stay in combat with it and hope for the best, which is not a good scenario against an Avatar of Cain. So, really good. Now, this is also really good with a lot of other stuff in the army, though, too. Not just the Avatar of Cain, right? For example, if you have a unit of Howling Banshees in combat with a unit of, let's say, you know, regular Space Marine intercessors, usually Banshees are going to kill about 4 intercessors, and the sergeant's going to be alive. And a lot of times, what happens is the sergeant falls back, and then the Banshees get shot to death. Well, opportunity seized means if you fall back, I can move d6 plus 1, and I can move on the other side of the wall, and now you can't shoot me at all. So this is super strong. This is like a combat version of Fade Away, but almost better, right? I think it's actually going to make combat Eldari armies really powerful, and it's going to make them really strong and competitive. This is a super competitive set of rules for the army. It's going to take a little bit of thinking to really get it down, but once you do, once you start seeing all the possible combinations you can pull off with these, you know, abilities, battle focus abilities, you will love battle focus way more than, you know, Strands dice. Well, than you ever loved Strands dice. Strands dice, to be honest, they were kind of fun in the beginning of the edition, but they got old very quick and they weren't very intuitive. A lot of times it was just, yeah, I'm going to plug in a 6 here, or yeah, I'm going to change this dice to a 6, and I'm just going to, you know, just rickroll you, right? Especially in the beginning of the edition. However, as the edition wore on and things were just nerfed, Fate Dice became something more of a joke in a lot of ways. It was still good. Don't get me wrong. It still felt okay to use Fate Dice, but it wasn't fun, right? It wasn't fun like this is. This is extremely fun. This is extremely exciting. I'm super excited about Battle Focus. I think this is way better than just pick 3 units and move 6 inches with them. Move, shoot, move. I know move, shoot, move is like super powerful for shooting units and shooting armies, but this is good for everybody, right? This has something for all of us. And I think it's a really well designed army rule. And dare I say, it's probably one of the most tactically flexible rules in the entire game. It's definitely the most tactically flexible army rule in the entire game. It's better than, pick up and drop 3 units. It's better than, something like advance and charge. And I won't straight up just say better, but I'll say more tactically flexible, right? It allows you to play in a lot of different ways. I'm over the moon about this. I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. There's just so much you can do with it, so much Eldar trickery, right? I mean, even the one that people were saying were not that good, the star engines, I could see multiple ways this could be good, right? Even just some of the Pry Nexus missions, like sabotage. Sabotage is sometimes an objective that is hard to score because your unit needs to survive. Well, guess what? Right? We can get into position easier with star engines now, but it gets better than that, right? If we're sabotaging an objective and we need a unit to survive and our opponent shoots at us, we can use fade back to move D6 inches away and possibly get them out of line of sight to another unit that's going to shoot it. And by the way, guys, I think the best aspect warrior that's going to be able to benefit from these abilities, guess what it is, ladies and gentlemen? The Shining Spears. Of course, you guessed it. Shining Spears are going to be great with this. 6-inch consolidation move. The ability to move after an enemy unit falls back is just amazing. Of course, we're going to have to see the data sheet to see how good it's going to be in combination with a lot of this stuff. But my God, did they fix Shining Spears? I expect Shining Spears to be a selling point for a lot of people getting into the game, wanting to play jet bike. By the way, guys, every single archetype is playable with this. Wraiths are better. This makes Wraiths better. This makes jet bikes better. This makes aspect warriors better. This makes guardians better. It makes everything in the game better. Or excuse me, everything in our index or codex better, right? It's going to improve the value of every single unit in our army inherently. And I really like that. It's just amazing. I cannot believe how cool this is. And of course, you have the, awesome artwork, the War Walkers. I think these are actually freshly painted. I've never seen these before on the GW website. So this is really tight. So it also looks like tomorrow they're going to be doing the Seer Council, detachment. They're going to show us that. That's going to be really cool. I'm hoping to see some cool stuff out of that tomorrow. I will do another video like this tomorrow covering it. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. I'm really excited to see what they're, going to do with the different detachments. But my God, I mean this army rule, guys, is more than we could have ever asked for. Again, I know it's not as simple as just move, shoot, move, but I think this is just better. I would rather 100 times, 1,000 times have something that is this tactically flexible than something that is just move, shoot, move. Okay, right? Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about it. I think this is better than what I hoped for. You know, I had gotten somebody about 3 weeks ago who shared some quote unquote leaks with me, and this was not it. So, whoever that was that emailed me, dude, good prank. I'm glad I didn't put it on the channel. But, you know, this is more than what I could ever ask for. It's awesome. It's amazing. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you do want to join the Patreon and join our Discord, I will leave the link in the description for that. You just have to sign up for a Patreon free trial, and I will give you the link to the Discord for absolutely no cost. And, ton of cool Eldar players talking about this. If you're excited about it, want to talk to other Eldar players who won't just, you know, laugh at you and say, "Oh my God, the Eldar are broken again," right? Because we're gonna get that, by the way. We're gonna get a lot of that, but it's just because the silly Monkai really just can't understand or can't comprehend our greatness. So that's really what it is. Don't let it bother you. This is a really balanced rule for the most part. It's very balanced. Again, it's competitive. It's tactically flexible. The only thing that I could see being an issue is, stacking on stuff like the Avatar of Cain, like stacking battle focus abilities on one model could be a little problematic. So I hope they kind of look at that a little bit, maybe in the future. But even so, I could see good players at the tournament level being able to find a way around that anyway. So, you know, it is what it is. I also have a channel store page if you want to check out some Eldar inspired apparel. This is a great time to grab an Eldari shirt, to grab, some cool stuff to show off your favorite faction at the local game store. Take a look at that. The purchases help out the channel a little bit. And also, lastly, if you do want to grab some stuff on Amazon, I'm an Amazon affiliate. You can, check out the Amazon affiliate link below, and you could maybe get some discounted Eldar minis. The new Combat Patrol or the old Combat Patrol, I should say, is still on Amazon for a decent price. It will not remain a decent price for long. So if you want to get some jet bikes, by the way, guys, jet bikes are looking good too, right? Jet bikes with you can't overwatch me, but I can overwatch you, and jet bikes with, bonus movement, reactive move is really good. So, look into, possibly getting some of those with the old Battle Force. We'll see what they do with Wraith Lords, but if they do anything like they did with Guardians and give them kind of a free battle focus maneuver, that's really awesome. Or if they could just use battle focus in general, that'd be cool. I mean, +2 movement to Wraith Lords and all that good stuff is going to be really cool. Now, one thing I do want to say before I end the video, they did mention in this last part a little hint as well. If we read this last part, right? Even Tower and Wraith Knights benefit from battle focus, while many of the smaller Wraith construct units unlock access to its boons when accompanied by Spirit Seer. So that means basically that Wraith units are not going to be able to get battle focus without a Spirit Seer or without some kind of detachment support. So I'm thinking the Wraith detachment is just going to say Wraith units in this detachment could benefit from battle focus. And it's probably going to be as simple as that. That could be fine, right? That's totally okay, in my opinion. Reason for this is because Wraith units with these abilities become very good, very strong, very quickly. Right? Wraith Blades with 6-inch consolidation or pile-in moves. Wraith Blades with movement 8. Wraith Guard with movement 8. You have Wraiths that could just reactive move D6+1 with fade back. That's extremely strong, and I think that's okay if they need a Spirit Seer to do it. Honestly. But we'll see. We'll see what the Codex has to offer and holds. But it's looking good, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great one. We're ready for the Ronadandra. We've basically already won it with this, and I will see you guys tomorrow, probably with the next Aeldari update next video. Have a good one, everybody, and peace out.